In an era where societal problems are often attributed to sinister motives, malevolent conspiracies, or calculated greed, Italian historian Carlo Cipolla offers a refreshing and sobering perspective in his seminal essay, The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. Cipolla posits that human stupidity, rather than deliberate malice, is a primary driver of many of the world's most pressing issues. This view aligns closely with Hanlon's razor, a philosophical heuristic that advises, never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. Together, these frameworks challenge us to reframe our understanding of societal dysfunction, urging us to look beyond intentional harm and confront the pervasive, often underestimated force of human folly. Cipolla's essay, written with a blend of sharp wit and analytical rigor, outlines 5 fundamental laws that define stupidity and its devastating impact on human welfare. By categorizing people into 4 behavioral types, helpless, intelligent, bandit, and stupid, he provides a structured lens to analyze human interactions and their consequences. This video delves deeply into Cipolla's laws, integrates the principle of Hanlon's razor, and explores their relevance to contemporary challenges. From the spread of misinformation to institutional failures, we will examine how stupidity, rather than malice, shapes the chaos we observe, and why acknowledging this reality is essential for addressing the crises of our time. Cipolla's first basic law of human stupidity declares, always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. This law exposes a universal cognitive blind spot, our tendency to overestimate the rationality of those around us. We assume that our family, friends, colleagues, and leaders are generally sensible, only to be shocked when their actions reveal profound lapses in judgment. As Cipolla notes, people whom one had once judged rational and intelligent turn out to be unashamedly stupid. This observation is echoed by historical thinkers like Voltaire, who famously remarked, "Common sense is not so common," and Albert Einstein, who reportedly quipped, "Two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe." This underestimation is not merely a personal failing, but a societal vulnerability. In today's hyper-connected world, the consequences of this oversight are magnified. Social media platforms, for instance, amplify the voices of the uninformed, allowing misinformation to spread rapidly. The first law suggests that the sheer number of stupid individuals, those who act without reason or foresight, is far greater than we anticipate, and their actions ripple across society. Consider the viral spread of false health claims during recent global health crises. These are often propagated not by malicious actors, but by individuals who fail to verify information before sharing it, causing widespread confusion and harm. Hanlon's razor complements this law by urging us to attribute such errors to ignorance rather than intent. The proliferation of conspiracy theories, whether about vaccines, elections, or global events, often stems from a lack of critical thinking rather than a coordinated effort to deceive. By recognizing the prevalence of stupidity, we can better address its effects through education and awareness, rather than wasting energy on imagined conspiracies. Cipolla's second basic law states, the probability that a certain person be stupid is independent of any other characteristic of that person. This law asserts that stupidity is not confined to any particular group, class, or demographic. It is as likely to be found among the wealthy as the poor, the educated as the uneducated, and the powerful as the powerless. Cipolla writes, whether you move in distinguished circles or you take refuge among the headhunters of Polynesia, you always have to face the same percentage of stupid people. This universality challenges our preconceptions about who is capable of foolish behavior. In academia, for example, highly credentialed scholars may cling to outdated theories or dismiss new evidence due to cognitive biases, stifling progress. In corporate boardrooms, Executives with Ivy League degrees may make catastrophic decisions that harm their companies and stakeholders. The second law reminds us that no environment is immune to stupidity, and its effects are felt across all sectors of society. In the context of Hanlon's razor, this law encourages us to reconsider our assumptions about poor decision-making. A politician's ill-advised policy or a CEO's failed strategy may not reflect malice, but rather a failure to understand the consequences of their actions. This perspective shifts the focus from vilifying individuals to addressing systemic issues that allow stupidity to flourish, such as inadequate decision-making processes or a lack of accountability. To define stupidity, Cipolla introduces a framework for categorizing human behavior based on the outcomes of actions for oneself and others. The third basic law states, a stupid person is a person who causes losses to another person or to a group of persons while himself deriving no gain and even possibly incurring losses. This definition distinguishes stupidity from three other behavioral categories. Helpless, individuals who harm themselves while benefiting others, such as a volunteer who sacrifices personal time to help a community without reward. Intelligent, individuals who create gains for both themselves and others, such as a scientist who develops a breakthrough that benefits society while advancing their career. Bandit, individuals who gain at the expense of others, such as a corrupt official who embezzles public funds for personal wealth. Stupid, individuals who cause harm to others without benefiting themselves, often harming themselves in the process. This framework is particularly illuminating when viewed through Hanlon's razor. Bandits, while harmful, act rationally to achieve personal gain, making their behavior somewhat predictable. Stupid individuals, however, act irrationally, causing harm without purpose or benefit. For example, a manager who implements a poorly planned restructuring may disrupt their team's productivity and morale without gaining any personal advantage. Such actions, driven by ignorance rather than malice, exemplify the destructive nature of stupidity. Cipolla also identifies the super stupid, a subset of individuals who consistently harm both themselves and others. In the digital age, this category is evident in behaviors like sharing inflammatory or false content online, which damages public discourse and the sharer's reputation without any tangible benefit. The third law underscores the irrationality of stupidity, making it a uniquely dangerous force that defies conventional defenses. The fourth basic law warns, non-stupid people always underestimate the damaging power of stupid individuals. In particular, non-stupid people constantly forget that at all times and under any circumstances, to deal and/or associate with stupid people infallibly turns out to be a costly mistake. This law highlights the disproportionate impact of stupidity, especially when stupid individuals wield significant influence. The damage caused by stupidity depends on two factors: the individual's innate stupidity and their position of power. A stupid person in a leadership role, whether in government, business, or the military, can cause far greater harm than an ordinary individual. Cipolla argues that democratic systems, while empowering, often enable stupid individuals to rise to power. Elections, influenced by the votes of a largely uninformed or apathetic populace, can elevate leaders who lack the competence to govern effectively. Once in power, these individuals may appoint others like themselves, perpetuating a cycle of incompetence within bureaucracies and institutions. Historical examples illustrate this dynamic. The fall of the Roman Empire, for instance, was marked by a series of poor decisions by leaders who failed to address internal decay and external threats. These failures were not always driven by malice, but often by a lack of foresight or understanding. In modern times, policy blunders, such as economic mismanagement or inadequate responses to environmental crises, often reflect similar lapses in judgment. Hanlon's razor encourages us to view these failures as products of incompetence rather than intentional harm, prompting solutions focused on improving decision-making processes. The fourth law also emphasizes the challenge of defending against stupidity. Unlike bandits, whose actions follow a logical pattern, stupid individuals act without reason, catching others off guard. This unpredictability makes it difficult to anticipate or mitigate their impact, whether in personal interactions or institutional settings. Cipolla's fifth basic law boldly asserts, "A stupid person is the most dangerous type of person." This law encapsulates the unique threat posed by stupidity, which surpasses even the harm caused by bandits. While bandits pursue self-interest and the helpless sacrifice themselves for others, stupid individuals cause harm to everyone, including themselves, without any rational motive. This irrationality makes them unpredictable and difficult to counter, amplifying their destructive potential. In today's interconnected world, the consequences of stupidity are magnified by global systems. A single ill-considered decision in a multinational corporation can disrupt supply chains, affecting millions. Similarly, the spread of misinformation on social media can undermine public trust, influence elections, and destabilize societies, often driven by individuals acting without malice, but with profound ignorance. The fifth law warns that unchecked stupidity can lead to societal collapse, particularly when stupid individuals occupy positions of power, such as heads of state or corporate executives. Cipolla argues that the only way to counter this threat is to increase the proportion of intelligent individuals, those who create mutual benefits through their actions. However, he notes that societal trends are moving in the opposite direction. Paternalistic policies that shield individuals from the consequences of their actions foster helplessness, while a cultural obsession with wealth and status encourages bandit-like behavior. This shift reduces the number of intelligent individuals, leaving society vulnerable to the destructive power of the stupid. Hanlon's razor provides a critical framework for interpreting Cipolla's laws. By advising against attributing malice to actions that can be explained by stupidity, it encourages a more nuanced understanding of human behavior. Many societal problems, such as resistance to scientific evidence or failures in crisis management, are often framed as the work of malevolent forces. Hanlon's razor suggests that these issues may stem from ignorance or incompetence, offering a more constructive path for addressing them. For example, the denial of climate change is frequently attributed to powerful interests manipulating public opinion. While such interests may exist, Hanlon's razor posits that many deniers simply lack the understanding to grasp the science, acting out of ignorance rather than intent. Similarly, bureaucratic failures during crises, such as delayed responses to pandemics, often reflect incompetence rather than deliberate sabotage. By applying Hanlon's razor, we can focus on systemic solutions, such as improving education or institutional accountability, rather than vilifying individuals. To fully grasp the implications of Cipolla's laws, it is instructive to examine their application to historical events. The decline of civilizations, from the Roman Empire to the Mayan civilization, often involve decisions that appear profoundly irrational in hindsight. The Roman Empire's failure to reform its bloated bureaucracy or address external threats was not always driven by malice, but by a series of short-sighted choices. Similarly, the Mayan collapse, linked to environmental mismanagement, reflects decisions that prioritized short-term gains over long-term sustainability. In the 20th century, the rise and fall of totalitarian regimes offer further examples. Leaders like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin are often portrayed as cunning masterminds, yet their regimes were marked by catastrophic miscalculations. Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union, for instance, ignored logistical realities, leading to disastrous losses. Stalin's purges of his own military weakened his nation's defenses, driven by paranoia rather than strategic intent. Hanlon's razor invites us to consider whether these decisions were as much the product of stupidity as of malice, highlighting the irrationality that often accompanies ideological zeal. The digital age has amplified the destructive potential of stupidity, making Cipolla's laws more relevant than ever. Social media platforms, designed to foster connection, have become breeding grounds for misinformation and irrational behavior. The viral spread of false narratives, whether about health, politics, or science, illustrates the first and second laws. Stupidity is both widespread and independent of demographic factors. Even educated individuals contribute to this problem by sharing unverified claims, often without malicious intent. The third law is particularly evident online, where actions like sharing misleading posts cause harm without personal gain. Such behavior damages public discourse, erodes trust, and may even harm the sharer's reputation, fitting Cipolla's definition of stupidity. The fourth law warns that underestimating this behavior is costly, as unchecked misinformation can influence elections, public health, and social cohesion. The fifth law underscores the danger, as the scale of digital platforms allows stupid actions to have global consequences. Hanlon's razor offers a way to navigate this landscape. Rather than assuming that misinformation is always the work of malicious actors, we can recognize that much of it stems from ignorance or carelessness. This perspective encourages solutions like media literacy programs, fact-checking initiatives, and platform moderation to address the root causes of harmful behavior. Cipolla's observation that stupid individuals often rise to positions of power raises critical questions about the role of institutions in mitigating their impact. Democratic systems, while empowering, can exacerbate the problem by allowing the uninformed to influence leadership. Bureaucracies, too, can perpetuate stupidity by rewarding loyalty over competence or stifling innovation through rigid processes. To counter this, institutions must prioritize meritocracy, transparency, and accountability. Rigorous vetting of leaders, data-driven decision-making, and education systems that emphasize critical thinking can reduce the influence of stupidity. Hanlon's razor reminds us that institutional failures are often the result of incompetence rather than malice, suggesting that reform, rather than revolution, may be the most effective path forward. For example, implementing peer review processes in government or corporate settings can help catch irrational decisions before they cause harm. Cipolla's solution to the problem of stupidity lies in increasing the number of intelligent individuals, those whose actions benefit both themselves and others. This requires a cultural shift away from values that promote helplessness or banditry and toward those that reward cooperation, foresight, and mutual gain. Education systems must prioritize critical thinking, problem-solving, and ethical reasoning, while societal incentives should encourage behaviors that create shared prosperity. Hanlon's razor supports this approach by urging us to address stupidity through understanding rather than condemnation. By recognizing that many harmful actions stem from ignorance, we can focus on prevention through education, dialogue, and systemic reform. This does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but rather addressing its root causes to prevent recurrence. For instance, public campaigns that promote media literacy can empower individuals to question information before sharing it, reducing the spread of misinformation. Carlo Cipolla's Basic Laws of Human Stupidity and Hanlon's razor offer a powerful framework for understanding the challenges facing modern society. By recognizing the prevalence and danger of stupidity, we can move beyond simplistic narratives of malice and address the root causes of social dysfunction. The laws remind us that stupidity is a universal force, present in every corner of society, and its irrationality makes it uniquely destructive. The path forward requires a collective commitment to fostering intelligence, both individually and institutionally. By prioritizing education, accountability, and critical thinking, we can mitigate the damage caused by stupidity and build a more resilient society. As Cipolla warns, failure to do so risks a descent into chaos, where the destructive power of the stupid prevails. Let us heed his warning and strive for a world where intelligent actions outweigh the folly of the few, creating a future defined by cooperation and progress rather than ignorance and decline.